Direct Golf TV, dedicated to improving your game.
Welcome to the second part of the Perfect Golf Swing series. Now, you've already seen the grip and we incorporated that into a routine that you can do onto the golf course. Now, what I'm going to talk you through today is about alignment, stance and posture. And then at the end of the video, incorporate that into the routine that we already started in the last video. So we're going to start off looking at the three key elements and explaining exactly how you should do them and how they work and why. So the first part we're going to look at is alignment. Now, the first key factor for getting the alignment right is to make sure you understand the ball to target line. So what we're trying to get is an imaginary line starting at the ball, going all the way directly to target. Now, once you have that ball to target line, we can then align everything else up to it. Now, one thing to always remember when you're looking at alignment is don't forget the ball is here and we're stood here. So we don't actually want our body pointing at the target. We want our body to be pointing parallel left of that target. So we've got the first original line still pointing down to the target there now. Now, as I set myself up here to this golf ball, I'm trying to get my feet, my hips and my shoulders all aligned parallel to each other, but then parallel left of your target line. So not pointing at the target, it's always parallel left of it. So as I take my setup into the ball there, my body is parallel left of that target line, so everything's aligned nice and square. Now, we incorporated a routine in the grip video and we talked about how making sure we get the club face square. This is very important. So what we're trying to do as we walk in to take the alignment is make sure that the club face is square to that ball to target line, and then from there we're getting the body parallel all the way up to that ball to target line. So we now want to talk about the stance of the golf swing, how we stand to the golf ball, but also how your ball position relates to that. Now, so many people ask me about width of stance. Now, this is very important. So if we go too wide in the stance, what you've got to remember about golf swing is it's a rotational movement. So you go too wide, it's very easy to start getting a lateral movement rather than rotational. And with a wider stance, it's very difficult to turn. We then go too narrow, then we can turn, but we can lose your balance quite easily. So what we're going to try and do is relate the width of stance to the shot you're going to play and B, your ball position. So first and foremost, let's start with your irons. Now, the key to your irons in terms of ball position, we're going to have the ball bang in the middle of your feet. So what we're trying to do with the irons is actually catch it slightly on the downward part of the arc. So we hit the ball, then the ground. So if we get that in the middle, it helps you to do that. But also what we're trying to do with the width of stance is get it literally shoulder width apart. Now, imagine a line going through the middle of your shoulder there, going straight through the middle of your feet there, so you get them nicely shoulder width apart. Okay, now we're going to go to the driver. Now, this is where it changes slightly. So the ball position is going to go further forward into your stance. It's literally going to go just inside your left heel there. Now, the reason for that, relate that to what we said to the irons about hitting down. With the driver, we're trying to hit it up on the swing because it's already on the tee. Now, with that as well, we want to go slightly wider than your shoulders this time. So again, if you draw a line, your feet fall just outside that line. So we're just slightly wider to cope with the fact that the swing's quicker, but also the club's longer. Then we go into the fairway woods and the rescue clubs. Now, the key with this is very simply, we're going to pop it in between the two ball position wise. It's not in the middle, it's not right at the front, it's literally bang in the middle of those two. So we catch it right at the bottom of the arc and sweep it more off the top of the turf. Width of stance again is going to come slightly in from your driver, but just slightly wider from your irons. So if we recap that slightly, we've got irons there, balls in the middle of your stance, feet shoulder width apart. The driver, balls inside your left heel, feet just wide in the shoulders. Your fairway and your hybrids, 3 inches inside there, feet slightly narrower. So now I want to talk to you about the posture, why it's important, how to create it. Now, the reason we need to stand in a good posture is for two reasons. We need to make sure that we're in a position to rotate in the golf swing, create power, but also we need to be in a position where everything is nice and relaxed. So our shoulders and arms are in a relaxed state, so our body can move those to create the power. Now, what we're trying to create is a nice athletic position. So we don't want to be too rounded from the shoulders. We don't want to be too straight where you put pressure onto your spine. So we're trying to tilt very much from your waist and keep your back in that neutral position as you tilt. Now, Combined with that, a very important part of this is where your arms hang and where the clubs hang in relation to that. So as I stand nice and straight and I hold the club parallel to the floor there, my arms are going to hang nice and straight in front of me in a nice relaxed position. So from there, that club's going to go straight through my belt buckle, so it's going to be nicely at waist height. Now if you remember back in the grip video, we talked that to get a relaxed position with your hands, we've got the hinge. Now this is where this becomes very important. We've got to retain this angle we've created here to be able to create that hinge and create a nice movement in the golf swing. So as I tilt to the golf ball, I'm trying to retain this angle and retain the fact the club's going through my waist. So I'm going to tilt from the waist, keeping my back nice and straight until that club touches the floor. So as it touches the floor, that club's still going to go through my waist and I'm still going to retain this angle. Now once I've got that, you're going to feel, if your legs are straight there, you're going to feel the tightness in your hamstrings, and you're going to try and release that just by flexing your knees ever so slightly. So we've got the back nice and straight, club going through the waist, we tilt from the waist to feel the hamstrings and then release that tension just ever so slightly. Now the key with this is that we need to make sure that's replicated right the way through the set. So I've got driver here, nothing changes with this. Your arms don't go further away because the club's longer. The ball is obviously going to be further away because the club's longer itself, but the actual set position is exactly the same. So I'm stood up nice and tall, club's still going through my waist, my arms are straight and relaxed, and I'm retaining this angle. So as I tilt to the golf ball down now, club's going to touch the floor, club's still going through my waist with the angle, and then I'm just going to release that tension in the back of the hamstrings. Now, one last thing with this, because we're tilting forward, we've got to make sure where your weight is in your feet is right. So we don't want it back on the heels, we don't want it too far onto the toes. You're literally going to feel your weight go through the balls of your feet. So then you know you've tilted properly, and that's the most athletic position to stand in. So in a quick recap, nice and tall, club going through your waist to retain the angle, tilt from your waist, slight flex, weight in the balls of your feet. So now we've understood about alignment, stance and posture. We need to be able to incorporate that into the routine that we started to develop in the grip video, because there's no point learning how to do those if we can't do them on the golf course in an actual game scenario. So if you remember from the grip video, we talked about having the club behind the ball, getting it in line up that way, having the hand from underneath and the right hand from underneath and taking the grip that way. So once we've done that in part of the routine, what I want you to then do is get your body nice and tall and get the club going through your waist like we've just chatted about in terms of posture wise. So once we've got into that position, we can then stand behind the ball all aligned up to it. Now I'm going to walk into this retaining this position. So as I walk into the ball, I'm going to retain my arms and the club going through my waist. I'm going to tilt to the ball, but notice how my left leg's gone back. Now, the main reason for that is to allow my spine to get into that straight position. So my left leg goes back, helps me to get that set position. I can feel my weight in my balls and my feet. Now from there, I'm then going to finish off the stance from there. So I've got my back nice and straight. I know my club's aligned to the target. My feet are aligned parallel to that line like we talked about earlier. So if I do that in a normal game scenario, in the pace that I would do it at, I'll take my grip, I walk in, club still through the waist, leg back, finish my stance and alignment and go from there. So that's the alignment, the stance and the posture covered. So with these two videos so far, we've looked at the grip, stance, alignment and posture, but more importantly looked at a routine to be able to create those on the golf course so you can replicate them over and over and over. Now the key thing to do with this on the driving range, you remember from the last video I talked about my 50 ball rule. So if you walk away from every shot, imagine you're on the golf course and walk in for 50 balls, very quickly that's going to feel quite natural, because if I gave you one task to do in life 50 times, you'd feel fairly happy you could achieve that. So go to the range, get 50 balls, walk away from each shot, do the routine as if you're on the golf course, and very quickly that will feel normal. So this is the second part of the 3-part series. Next time, keep an eye out for the perfect swing. So these first 2 videos have all been about setting up for us to be able to create that perfect golf swing.
To watch more tips and drills videos that will help improve your game, visit www.directgolftv.com.